so proudly we hailed, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the paradise.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Freedom Network. I'm Gary, your host. We're here to talk to you about freedom, politics, anything that's on your mind can certainly be right here on the air. All you have to do is call in or email in. We've got you covered on both ends, if you will. Man, there is a lot going on. I say that every week because there is a lot going on. There really and truly is. Just a ton of stuff going on. What can I tell you? Anyway, we're here at the NCTV studios. Fantastic place to broadcast out of. I don't know where you're coming to us from, but wherever you are, we're really happy that you're out there. We know that we've got Wisconsin out there. I also know that we have Texas out there tonight, so that's good. I hope we have you out there. I know that you said you'd be out there, and you better do what you say. But keep on emailing in, and of course, a whole host of people locally here in Northbridge, around the state, and wherever you may be. Constitutionforfreedom@gmail.com gets you right on in. Of course, the telephone gets you literally right here live on the program. All opinions are absolutely positively welcome. You are certainly encouraged to bring yours. You don't have to agree with me. That's fine. We can debate it out. We can agree. We can agree to disagree. That's all fine. No need for any Bernie Sanders safe places here. Although we're going to hear a lot about Bernie, I guess, as we continue to move forward. Let me just adjust us a little bit so we can have everything where we need it. Man, yeah, that's going to be interesting, isn't it, to watch that. We got groups and we got pages over on social media. Just send me an email. I send you a link back. It's the easiest way to do it. I did want to get your feedback. I was looking for feedback, and I've got some, but I want more feedback. I want to know what the pulse locally here is about the new field, the cup of coffee field. Everything in Northbridge, I don't know about in your town, but whenever they want to raise taxes at all, for anything, it's always compared to the cup of coffee, or as I like to call it, the cup of coffee. Do you support a debt exclusion to build a new field? Let us know your opinion on this. I'd really like to hear about it. I would like to hear about it. So if you have an opinion on it, whether you're for it or whether you're against it, let me know, and let me know why. I've got very mixed feelings on it, to be quite honest with you. I think that we have given a lot to the schools. We've given a lot to the schools. We have given a lot to the schools. And now we're being asked to give more to the schools. So I don't know how you feel about that. But something tells me I will. All right. Let's jump on the phones and get a early call in and see exactly what's going on out there. Good evening. You are up first on the Freedom Network.
Hey, good evening, Gary. I just would like to touch on the turf field.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
What I'm kind of concerned about is that I hope there's some more public debate on this, because if you just Google turf field and problems with turf fields,
okay,
and there's a lot of excellent information on the internet about turf fields, and what I've briefly found out is that there are a lot of cities and municipalities now going away from turf fields and going back to traditional fields.
Really?
So I'm hoping that there is some more public debate on this, and I'm also hearing rumors. I've got some calls from some concerned parents that the girls' softball field would be eliminated in this proposal. I don't know if there's anybody out there listening tonight that has any information on that, if that rumor is correct. And again, like I said, it's my understanding anywhere from $550 to $571 would be assessed to the taxpayers for a one-year debt exclusion if nothing else could be worked out. What I'm proposing tonight is if the town decides to go in this direction, is to look at taking a little bit out of stabilization to hold over until
Well, I
I'll
mean,
give you a chance to talk, Gary.
no, that's fine. That's fine. You're good. I mean, from what I'm told, it's only a lousy cup of coffee, right? But, I can't stand that analogy. But, yeah, I don't know much about fields. I'm not a field expert. But it just seems to me, as we talked about with the school and when we were building, or we are now going to be building a new school. This is a lot of money that we have put into the school system. There's a lot of needs in the town. And I'm just not so sure that, how short sighted was it to not include something for this within it? Whether you do it in tandem and put a debt exclusion at the same time for the field with it. People were talking about it. Excuse me. People were engaged in it, and people were voting on giving money to the school. Uh, we knew right from the get-go that it would not be the end. The taxes are never the end. It will never stop. They will constantly want more taxes, whether it's for the school or for something else. I've said several times, I mean, don't we need to look at the fire department? Don't we need to look at the DPW budget as far as being able to fix and maintain things at a better rate? They can only work with what they have. I notice people on Facebook all the time, they get very upset with sometimes the plowing or sometimes the potholes. But let's face it, these folks they're good people. They're doing what they're hired to do. They're working hard. But they don't have the resources to do what you want them to do. Not you personally, of course, but what we as a town want them to do. Where does it stop with the schools? I know schools are important. I get it. But we're talking about every time we turn around, it's $1 million here, it's $1 million there, $100 million here, $50 million there. When is it going to stop? Well, it's never going to stop. So where do we prioritize as a town?
Right. And
go ahead.
And as the town charter gives the Board of Selectmen the direction to issue policy in the town, they're the ones that have to decide, is this turf field our number one priority, or is it, like as you said, the fire station, or when the town took over the Pine Grove Cemetery, I remember at that town meeting, the town allegedly said that the DPW was going to get additional personnel to take, because they were taking over the Pine Grove Cemetery. I don't know if they ever received those additional personnel, because when it was the Cemetery Commission, they used to have, I believe, 3 or 4 people, or maybe more, maintaining that cemetery. And so if you're not going to increase the personnel of the DPW to maintain that, that also strains on the present skeleton crew that the DPW presently has.
Sure. They can only be in so many places at one time.
Right. So, and plus the DPW budget being level funded for so many years, that's why they need these additional debt exclusions to pay for the extra road work. The question or inquiring minds may want to know is that if the DPW budget was at least caught up, proceeded at the cost of inflation, would they have to have these a certain extra amount of money for debt exclusions to maintain the road, or could they have less at least if their budget was kept up with the cost of inflation? But like I said, the Board of Selectmen are the policy makers, and they're the decision makers, and that's why hopefully there'll be more public debate on this turf field, and maybe we could work something out that old saying, if you walk in front of me, I may not follow, or if you walk in back of me, I may not lead, but if you walk next to me, we sometimes can get a lot of things accomplished together, and maybe that's a thought that can be accomplished, but I don't know if there'll be any public forums on that, but
I don't know what they're doing.
There are some good suggestions out there, and I thank you for everything you do for the town and all the excellent staff at NCTV, and I just want to express my thanks, and
all right,
I appreciate everything you do, Gary.
All right, my friend, glad to have you out there. All right, thank you for your opinions. He always brings up good points. I mean, when you talk about it locally, and I didn't plan a whole local show today. You can call in on anything that you want. Locally is fine with me. But it just seems that we're in this Northbridge, Massachusetts, for those of you that don't know, is a very low property tax town. People that live here enjoy a low tax rate comparatively to other municipalities throughout the state, but especially in the Blackstone Valley, where we do have the lowest tax rate. That the town definitely does not have all the money it would need to do all the things that it would want to do. I get it. At the same time, you have to understand that you live in a low tax town. The reason it's a low tax town is because a lot of the people that have lived in this town for a long time want it to be one. Now, as more and more people come into the town, we see that that is starting to change. You could go back, umpteen years, and you would never pass a $100 million school in Northbridge. The demographics are changing, and they seem to be changing toward a more pro-tax, higher tax type of a feeling within town. I don't support, I think that this town is phenomenal that it doesn't have this high tax burden that other towns have. We talked about spending per pupil. I tried, as I said yesterday, to get some kind of an answer as to, does the spend actually equal better results, better grades, things of that nature. Well, I just realized something. I don't have my ring. My wedding ring is on the counter at my house because I was cooking, which I don't do very often, nor do I do very well, but I think I did a good job tonight. But yeah, I had taken my ring off, and I just realized I don't have it. I feel naked. I wear no jewelry except my wedding ring. That's the only piece of jewelry that I wear. But yeah, it just felt weird, so I figured I had to interrupt the show to tell you that, especially if you see me waving my hands around and you don't see a ring on. I certainly wouldn't want anyone to think that I wasn't wearing my wedding ring on purpose. Wow, I feel naked. I feel naked here on television. It's very wild. I don't know what the heck to do about a field, folks. I just don't know what you want from the people. What do you want? And if we do the field, what's next? And what's next? And what's next? And what's next? I mean, why don't we just turn all the tax money over right to the schools and let the schools just have it all? And then they can just do what they want to do, I guess. I don't know. Every time I turn around, the school department is looking for more money. Constantly looking for more money. Now, I know all school departments are looking for more money. So where does it end? What year don't you come and say, I need? There's got to be a point where it stops. Or at least a pause. It doesn't have to stop forever, but you got to pause. The citizens of this town just approved a $100 million school. Now people are out there looking for a new field. And what will they be looking for next? When's it going to stop? How many cups of coffee do you want me to buy? How many cups of coffee do you want, and I say me, the average citizen, to buy? I think it's getting a little much already. It's enough. It's enough. I think you got to back off a little bit. And, as you see more and more people coming into town, I think it's a clear direction toward higher taxes. I would say that in time, Northbridge will be as heavily taxed as other municipalities. The war won't be won here. You will not keep your lowest tax rate in the valley. It's not going to happen. There are way too many actors now involved that support more and more and more taxes, government, just more. And unfortunately, that is really a microcosm of what we're seeing in the entire country right now, where we see this massive slide to the left. The government needs more. The government always needs more. It's always for the kids and for the well-being, and we're going to help people, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. It's constant. And if you don't support it, you must be a bad person. You don't know what you're talking about. You'll see the insults start to fly. You'll see all this crazy baloney start to go on because somebody doesn't want to give up more of their money. I think what's important when we talk about taxes is that it's not your money. It's not up to you to decide how much of my money I get to keep. Where did this even become part of the conversation? It's the slide to the left. We will continue and continue and continue to slide to the left because we are continuing to see more and more people, whether it's locally or otherwise, statewide, federally, more and more people are going with leftist, socialist baloney, which is what it is. People talk about democratic socialism. You know who was a democratic socialist? Hitler started out as a democratic socialist, okay? And then used that pulpit to get in. Milosevic, okay, was a let's help the people. Countless countries in South America, it's all for the people. The people's this, the people's that. What is China? The People's Republic of what? Slavery. That's what it's a People's Republic of. And you're turning America right into the same damn thing. At what point did it become radical to want to follow the intent of the United States of America? The United States of America was founded to be free, not to have big government, for people to be able to live their lives, do what they need to do, for states and really even more so local municipalities to come together and to handle things like education, roads, all that kind of stuff, health care, if you will, if you want to use that and fast forward. There was never any intent for the federal government to be this involved in every aspect of your life. There was never any intent for a state government to be this involved in your life, and nor a local government. You do have more control locally. And I guess what a local government or a local citizenry want to do, they have the right to do. But I think that this is a huge indication of an absolute slide to the left in the United States of America, where I can be called a radical because I'm a constitutionalist. And I can be called that by Trump lovers, Trump haters. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Republicans, Democrats, that all doesn't matter. That's a show. That's just a show. There is no such thing as a difference. They differ on things that don't really impact you, but what impacts you at a high rate, they're the same on. What am I talking about? Well, that's easy. Let's look at huge government. The Democrats certainly haven't done anything to cut government. They want to expand it. And the Republicans are full of crap also, because they've had control of houses of Congress over the past 40 years or so, or 50 years, however far you want to go back, 100 years. They've had control of the presidency, the Senate, the Congress, both houses of Congress, with the presidency, without the presidency. They've all had control. Has government shrunk? No. Have taxes really gone down? No. I mean, Trump's up there thumping his chest because people got, what, 20, 30 bucks more in your check? We're going to talk about how much you pay in taxes. 20, 30 bucks. That's nothing. That's nothing. Well, that's the best he could do, Gary. Then that's the best he could do. So you said it, and I know you're out there watching now, so you said it. That's the best he could do. Well, that ain't even close to good enough. Not even close to good enough. We are far, far from the intent of the United States. Freedom isn't a guarantee of anything. It's not. Plain and simple. It just isn't. They talk about democracy. If you noticed, ever since Trump won, right? Now, he didn't get my vote, okay? But I do accept the fact that the Electoral College exists. I think it exists for a good reason. I think we forget the fact that we're a representative republic. We are not a democracy. The United States is not a democracy. So when you see people on television, in the news, and things like that talking about our democracy, what they're doing is they're softening you to the idea of mob rule, because that's what democracy is mob rule. And you can see it. You can see it right here in the town, right? When people vote to build a $100 million school, that's because they won the vote. In the states, you got a lot of democracy, but you still have a representative system in your state house and even in your local establishments. We could elect a very conservative selectman that will never recommend any tax increases, let's say, and sticks to a very constitutional line. well, that selectman is going to have a say in what goes on. They're going to have a vote and they're going to have a say. Now, you may not agree with it, but that's what's called representative government. That's what we have. The reason that you see all of these folks, both Republicans, unfortunately, because it's a party that I used to belong to that I left and haven't looked back since, Democrats constantly, all your liberal socialist commentators that you're going to find on your various news outlets, constantly are using this word democracy. People actually are starting to think that they live in a democracy to a point that they want to actually run the country as a democracy. Do you know how dangerous that is? It's a mob rule, is what it is. I'm not a big statist, but I do believe in the government that was set up for the United States of America. I do believe in the Constitution that is a rule book for the government, not for me. The Constitution grants no rights, none, not one right does it give you through its existence. It protects the rights that you already have. Do we understand that? Does everybody get that? We're not a democracy. We're a representative republic. We have a government that's governed by a constitution. And we have rights that are protected through the Constitution. So we talk about things all the time like, what's unconstitutional. I talk about, I debate constantly and get into with both sides of Trump. It's the funniest thing because it's I hate Trump and this is why you're wrong and let me insult you a little bit. Or I love Trump and this is why you're wrong, let me insult you a little bit. I don't think people really realize that when you read that and you're on social media and you see that, these half-witted attempts at people trying to attack you, you see it all the time, right? And you see it with other people, and I chuckle. I see it with myself. I've seen it with several of you out there. And it's funny to me. I sit there and I laugh. But I'm not laughing with you. I'm laughing at you. Because that means to me that you have no real game. You have nothing to debate. You just have based your opinions on whether you love Trump or you hate Trump. Well, I really don't care about Trump. He's not a constitutionalist, so again, he can't get my vote. No one will ever get my vote again that will not support the Constitution fully and completely. That's locally, that's statewide, and that's federally. So my ballots have and will continue to look like a lot of blanks. There's going to be a lot of blanks on there. Now, I've got people that I like and I respect in our local government, also in our state government, and in our federal government. But if you want my vote, you gotta support the Constitution. There ain't going to be a lot of votes. Now, I will pull my ballot, I will vote for a few of my local things. I'll laugh at the ballot. I chuckle a lot of times when I look at the choices because they're not choices. Because we started out talking about the huge government. What's the difference between Democrats and Republicans? How about endless and illegal wars? There's not been since 1942, and we talked about it 2 weeks ago. It was Belarus and a couple of other countries that the United States declared war on. It was in 1942. Okay, so it was during the Second World War where we were actually kind of still, not really, but kind of following the Constitution. Since then, there has not been one constitutionally declared or legally declared war since 1942. People always say, no, the Gulf War. That was the Congress declared war on the Gulf War. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. You can look it up. There's this neat thing called Google. Just type it in. Last time America declared war. You're going to find that it was a long time ago. Both parties support that. Both parties support a disgusting food system where you're literally eating poison that is banned in many other countries in the food that you eat right now today. Sorry if you're eating dinner. But both parties have done nothing about that. Neither party has done anything to really address the health care in this country, where it's basically a screw you, pay me or die system. That's what we have. You'll either pay me these astronomical rates or we won't treat you. What are we doing about that? Who's doing something about that? Obamacare does nothing about that. In fact, what it really does is it emboldens them because it forces you to pay these outrageous prices. we talked about tax rates, and we'll talk about taxes. We talk about the size of government. We talk about endless wars. We talk about a Fed that hasn't been audited in I don't know how long, a true audit. They print money that doesn't even really have any value. They loan it to your government, and then you pay it back. It's never even printed, just so you know. It's just, it doesn't even exist. Now, they print plenty of money that's worth nothing, but they actually just electronically transfer something in, transfer something here, transfer something there, and you owe. We are over $20 trillion in debt. What party is doing something about that? Really doing something about that? Bill Clinton's answer was, let's raise taxes. Let's pay it down. Yeah, you can do that. That's called simple math. You don't have to be a genius. Just increase what everybody's got to pay and put that towards the debt and you pay it down. But that's not constitutionally thinking. That's not a mind of a constitutionalist. That's the mind of a socialist. Folks, you got to start to get a grip. You got to start to realize that I'm not the radical. If you're out there thinking I'm the radical politically, I'm not the radical. You're the radical. If you don't support constitutionality in a country that's a constitutional republic. It's a representative republic here, the United States of America. You look at Trump, he's no constitutionalist. His words, take the guns first, due process second. Really? You take Trump on guns, he signed the bump stock ban, right? So he signs the bump stock ban. Obama didn't even do that. He signed spending bills that plunge us into debt. These are not constitutional acts. These are not the acts of a constitutionalist. Scott Lively, remember him? He's back on the email trail, I see. I see his email coming in now. He's doing some new thing. I don't know what he's doing. But boy, could Baker have been beat? Absolutely. But not by Donald Trump. Not by Trump Jr., not by Trump Light. Not going to happen. But I do like to get your email, Scott. I do read them. I don't always agree with them. Man, socially, you and I are way over here because freedom means something to me differently than I think it means something to you. Trump did just do something I thought was really good, though. He, the wall's out there, right? We can always talk about the wall. I support the wall. I don't like the process. But I do support there being a wall there. I've had some heartfelt conversations with people. I know a couple of people that I have met through social media that were affected by illegals coming across the border. We're talking about rape and murder and things of that nature. We're talking about gang members and God knows the countless crimes that ensue from them. It is a crisis. It's certainly a crisis to those people that are affected by it. But I don't like things happening. I don't like laws or anything happening without the representation that we have making the decision. I don't want the president to make those kind of decisions, but I also don't mind the fact that we have a wall there. So I don't find that to be racist. I don't think Israel is racist because they have a wall. I don't think Mexico is racist because they have a wall. I don't think that I don't know how many it is. I Googled it at one time, 20, 30 other countries that have a wall. I don't think they're racist. I think they want to protect their land to the best that they can. It's just too much. It's too much sometimes. Folks, you gotta understand where you live. And you got to look at people that are constitutionalists, and you got to say, okay, let me engage that a little bit differently. I find it so difficult to find it difficult to find. I find it difficult to have rational conversations with what has become this very powerful socialist wing of the United States. There are no rational conversations. It starts off as, hey, I disagree. I think that this would be better. And then it's, what are you, a fool? What, you don't understand this? No, you're the fool. Okay, you're the fool. I talk with people on many different outlets, if you will, be it here, through email, social media, different groups and things like that. And I'm always amazed at how the people act, how immature they are. The keyboard warriors are the best. I mean, they're real tough guys, right? They're real tough guys. But they don't get up off their asses and go do anything about it, right? They don't do that. God forbid they'd never tell you that to your face. Or some would. Some would. There's some tough lefties out there. But for the most part, you know, I love the memes on Facebook when they show a conservative person or someone that may own a firearm, or even some of the ones that are the funniest, they don't even have a firearm about it, but they'll talk about this revolution that these socialists seem to want to have. And that's what I call you, socialists, because that's what you are. Make no mistake about it. There is no good part of socialism. Socialism leads to communism in many cases. If it doesn't lead to communism, it leads to a commie-light type of a thing. People are subjugated, people pay huge taxes, and usually things then topple. Then they say, well, are you saying in Sweden? No, I'm not saying in Sweden. I'm talking about real socialism. See, Sweden doesn't have real socialism. Canada doesn't have real socialism. Why? Because the United States is bound to protect them. Let's cut off that bit. Let's stop protecting all these socialist countries. Stop giving them aid, and certainly cut out the guarantee that we will defend you militarily. And let them go on their own for a little bit and see how long that money lasts them. The only reason that these socialist countries or socialist-leaning countries can have all these things that they have is because they tax the crap out of people and they don't have much else to spend it on. Because good old America, Gary and you out there are paying for their defense. Why do you think that we own Alaska, for example? Why do you think that is? Why do you think Canada sold? Why do you think that Canada has never said, you know, we really would like to have that piece of property back? Why do you think that is? Do you think that if the United States was just like South America, a bunch of just little countries, wasn't powerful, it was just a bunch of little countries kind of mulling around, toying with socialism, X, Y, and Z, whatever. Do you really think that the Russians wouldn't have come over into Canada? I mean, do you really believe that? The human being is not a peaceable animal. We're a very territorial animal. We like territory. We're just like other animals that are on the planet. We're no better. We're no different. We are different, and we are better at many things. But when you come down to the animalistic, actual way of man, we can be violent. We like to have property or territory. We're very similar to many mammals on Earth that want and will protect to the death our territory. And we fight over territory. We have since the beginning. We will to the end. That's life. That's life. So do you want to be strong or don't you want to be strong? Well, if you don't have to worry about being strong because that guy over there is your bodyguard and he's going to take care of you, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to go out and buy guns and build up a wall and fortify yourself and do all. You don't have to do that. Because the capitalist country, the free country, I say free country, will pick up that tab for you. What if we just stop doing that? What if America just stops all the foreign aid to anywhere where people are not absolutely duly elected and where freedom doesn't actually, or does actually, you know, it's got to exist or you don't get any money. You can't have, you know, socialist style government and get our money or any aid from us. What do you think would happen to those countries? They love to talk about the Nordic countries. Well, you know, hey, man, over there they have you read the history of those countries? These are a violent people, just like all other people. They have conquered and been conquered. They have shifted land, they have taken land, and they have given back land. They're not fighting in your lifetime because they don't have to, because you pay the bill. Not a Republican or a Democrat is going to address that. Not a Republican or a Democrat is going to audit the Fed. Not a Republican or a Democrat is going to end these endless wars. They tell me that Trump is going to, you know, he wants these out of Syria. And, well, that's good. You put us there. You did it. So get us the hell out of there. You're absolutely right. But what about all the others? What about the fact that we have brave heroes that join the military, right? I mean, these are heroes. These are people that are saying, hey, man, I'll put my life on the line for my country, right? You can't deny that. That is an amazing thing that a smaller percentage of the population will actually do. Now, there's been a little bit of a back and forth with that because some people don't support the government enough to jump in. But look what happened after 9/11. People just started to join up. They wanted to go fight and find this person. But what did the government really do? Did we really go after it? Or did we begin something that we didn't know was going to happen? To me, you want to support the troops. I think you really need to take a look at what you do with the troops, because they're not pawns as our government uses them as. Every time a service member, man or woman, dies on a foreign land fighting, right? Every time this happens, and it happens all the time, are we honoring them? Their representatives never even voted to declare war. Are we really honoring these people? Are we really protecting those that are willing to protect us? I want the strongest military the world has ever seen. I want it to be so strong and so powerful that nobody can match it. Absolutely. I don't mind spending money on the military. I really don't. But I think that we really give them a raw deal. And we also allow so many to come back from undeclared wars that are affected by that, and they need help. Where's the help? You know, you went on, you fought for us, and now you're sleeping on the street in Boston? And that's okay? But we have to worry about getting money for what? For sex change operations, for people in jail? That's where we're spending the money? As opposed to John Smith that just got back from war and had a real tough time with it, and 3 months later is having real issues. When do we help those people? When do we help the heroes that have gone to help you? It's tough stuff, tough conversations to have, right? But when do you do it? When do you stand up, and when do you do it? Republicans ain't going to do it. Democrats ain't going to do it either. They'll throw a bone here and there so they can go campaign on it. But outside of campaign time, what's the real push to help? So I look at the military and I say, oh my God, have we taken and really warped the intent of it? Read the Federalist 69, and you'll know that Donald Trump is not the commander-in-chief of the military until war is declared. That's how it was explained. When Congress declares war, he is the commander-in-chief. I think it's 69, Robert. You correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 69. I mean, what the hell are we doing? And why are we allowing it to happen? Why are we paying taxes at the rate that we pay them? There is no Democrat, there is no Republican that is going to cut your taxes. And meaningfully. They'll cut them here and there a little bit. I mean, Bush gave you $1,000 or $500. Trump gave you probably roughly the same. Got an email coming in. Okay. This one comes from Jonathan. Jonathan says, Gary, you're 100% right. I am a vet, and I joined up after 9/11 and went to fight those that attacked us. But that fight never really came from me. You're 100% correct. Please keep pushing for the vets. I know you do all the time. It's really important that people know that we are out here, and we should not be taken advantage of the way that we are. Oh, you're welcome. I mean, you know, I wasn't in the military. You got more you know what's than I do. And at the time when I could have gone into the military, you were talking, what, 1990 or so into the Gulf War. And I have a good handful of friends that I know that were over there. That might have been one of the more, and I think it's crazy that Bush took any kind of a bad rap on the way he went about it. I think that doing it, you got to look at the Kuwait situation. I get it. We got to look at all that info. But he never went in and took over Iraq. He didn't, overthrow Saddam. He didn't really destabilize anything. He took a country that was basically invaded, and he pushed the people out of it. And it costs us American lives to do so. I just hope that the people that are in those countries really appreciate it. It's interesting. Hang on, one more coming in. Gary, I'm a vet. Great topic. You said one time our sons and daughters' lives are not worth installing the next dictator. Yes, I have said that many times. Please keep talking about this. Supporting our military is very important, and using it properly is even more important. I agree. I think that as people that do not go into the military, I think that we have an obligation to make sure that those that do are well taken care of. I really do. So I posted on Facebook, we were talking about taxes, about the taxes that Americans pay. People said it wasn't true, we don't pay that much. Here's what I'll tell you. The meme that I posted, absolutely positively, you can Google and find out that any of those numbers could be correct. I will add the disclaimer. That they are all on the high side, right? They are. And I think I said that to the person on Facebook maybe right just before the show. They are all on the high side. Those examples are all the high side of what you pay. So it got me thinking. I said, well, let's do some work and dissect a few things. Here comes one from Mike. Hey, Mr. R, not to change the subject, I have a quick question. Would you support decriminalizing drugs to get people out of jail and rehabilitated? Thanks. Well, see, that's what happens when you have open nights, right? And I try to always have open nights. Gee, Mike, I got to really think about that. Decriminalizing drugs. Well, I think it really depends. Okay, the libertarian piece of me, right, says, yeah, I mean, if people want to do drugs, go do drugs. What do I care? You want to ruin your life? Go ruin your life. Not up to me. But I think that when you do drugs and it affects my freedom, then I think that I do have a say in it. I think if you do drugs and you want my money, for whatever reason, I think I begin to have a say in the process. Now, I don't really care about not that I don't care about it, but we've got booze out there. We've got pot out there now. Pot absolutely is less of an impact to society than booze is. Easy to prove that statistic out. Don't even try to go the other way on it. But you start talking about heroin and stuff like that, I don't know. I really and truly don't know, Mike, if I support that just being the norm or okay. But the libertarian side of me does pull at me when I say that and says, hey, what are you talking about? Why do you have anything to say about what somebody else does, right? So I don't know. I probably come down somewhere in the middle, Mike. Not to give you a crappy answer, but I think that's the best one I can give you. I think if you're not affecting anybody else, that's fine. But if you're affecting other people, I think that's where laws and things should be put into place because, you have no right to my money. So you have no right for me to pay for your Narcan. No right. You do drugs and you're going to kill yourself. Why do I have to pay for that? I mean, I don't pay for a diabetic to get insulin. Why would I pay for a heroin addict to get Narcan? Why? Why would I do that? I think it's a kind of a sick underbelly in a free society, or in any society, actually. Drugs are everywhere. I think that we as a country should focus on rehabilitation. I think that we should help those that fall into a trap. But I think that there's got to be a limit on that, too. There's got to be a degree of personal responsibility. There's got to be a community aspect to it. I'm not so sure I support anything from the feds on this. Nothing. I think that if I had to come down and make a decision right here talking to you, Mike, I'd say it's a state rights issue. If the people in a state want to vote for people that want to legalize drugs, I think then legalize drugs. I don't think the federal government has any business in any of it, to be honest with you. It's just not their turf. And the reason it's not their turf is because it's not stated to be so. So I think that what you got to do is you got to look at the states and you got to make a decision that way. If you would want drugs to be legal, then go to a state where drugs are legal. If you don't want them to be legal, then go to a state where drugs aren't legal. You're a citizen of the United States and you can decide to live in any state that you want. So that's probably where I'd come down on it. Personally, if it were up to me, in my community, if I was voting, do I want to legalize heroin? No. Do I want to decriminalize it? No. But then again, at the same time, do I want to pay for you to go to jail because you had, cocaine? Not really. Um, so it becomes a very complex issue. It's a very complex issue, especially constitutionally speaking. Because constitutionally speaking, you want to go out and kill yourself, go kill yourself. That makes absolutely no difference to me. It's got nothing to do with me. It's not my decision. Where I get into the conversation is when you want me to help pay. So you say focus on rehabilitation. What does that mean? So we take the money and just, what is then the rate that people that do these drugs that are highly addictive and very deadly, what is the rate that they revisit and relapse? And how many times do I have to pay for it? And when don't I pay for it anymore? I think our jail system and prison system is way overloaded, though, with people that have been there for possession of drugs and things of that nature. And I if that's where you're going with it, I do get your point. But at the end of the day, Mike, it's a state issue. It's not a federal issue. So I think that the feds need to get out of that business. I think the states, through the people, need to do what the people want to do. I don't know if that helps or not. And you can change the subject anytime you want. Let's look at what we actually pay in taxes. I talked about the meme. I admit the meme is on the high end of everything, but it's not false. It's just not common. Okay? There's a big difference there. It's not false. People pay way too much in taxes. Let's see what we actually pay. After crunching a lot of numbers, which I did this afternoon, and I tried to look up what would be averages in the country, averages in the state, to try to get some kind of a look at what we really do pay in taxes. What do we pay? And it's very difficult to do this in general, but we're going to try to do it in the next few minutes here, unless you guys have something else you want to talk about. The thing is, what's really important to understand in this conversation is we pay an astronomical amount of taxes. Way too many, way too many. Totally got off on a tangent, and I don't know that I will get to. I wanted to get to the woman that is wanting to come back to America after going to fight or be part of, the terrorist world. I hate America and that kind of stuff. She actually called for drive-by shootings and to shed American blood, and they're not letting her back in the country. She was born, I think, on a military base in the country, but I don't think she's a citizen. I don't think she has a passport. I don't think that she should be allowed back in, and the Trump administration is not going to let her back in, and I think that's fantastic. You want to go fight against America, go ahead, but you've now picked a side. Well, that's your side. Your side's going to lose, so deal with it. Deal with it. I mean, because you romanced it in your mind and you thought this was wonderful, and you decide you're going to go offshore and you're going to, even while you're here, start to demand that Americans be killed. You know what? I don't have any sympathy for you. I have no sympathy for you. But I crunched a lot of numbers. I used a lot of deductions that I could find and different things that I could find to try to come up with some averages. So after I did that, I started to look at all the different things that we pay. So federal income tax, right? I could find, after crunching a lot of numbers on this, because it's amazing how much difference we pay. There are people that pay, actually, that get back more than they pay, and there are people that pay nothing and make a ton, and there are people that are in the middle, which is most of us, that get screwed. But most of what I could find puts us at about 14.5% per average, okay, per average. So after crunching the numbers, I think 14.5% is a pretty fair number if we're going to use an average, and we're not going to front load that, don't worry. It's not really 22%, and then it goes back down to 14% as the years go on. But it's roughly around there. Social Security lists out at about 6.2%. Is on average. Don't forget that there's also matching taxes from your employer that come in here. It does cap for higher earners, but we're talking about averages. Medicare is about 1.45%. Mass sales tax will run you, it's going to actually be 5.05%, down from 5.1%. It's getting there. Barbara Anderson, God rest your soul, you said you wanted to live till it was 5%. It is getting close through the will of the voters, not the will of the government. They are moving slowly on what we told them to do. What is it, a decade now? Unbelievable. Let's pause and look what the average American makes a year. All right, if you Google it and you find out average American looking at about $59,000. In different states, they make more. I started to average some numbers between some of the New England states, really trying to get some kind of an average that we could go on, because this is a very difficult thing to do unless you do it yourself with your particular income. And I'm going to urge everybody out there right now, okay? I want you all to do this. I want you to take what you make and add into it all the taxes that you pay, and you come up with a number, and you tell me what you're really paying in taxes. So we're going to use the number of $59,000, okay? $59,000. So we'll do some math, all right? We'll do some math, and we'll try to figure it out. And it's interesting when you start to do the math, it really starts to add up. We're talking about 27.2% of your income. So from $59,000, you're going to pay a little over $16,000 in that federal tax. But let's move on. We'll use Mass as a gauge for some of these numbers because it's really easy to get them, and national averages for others when we don't have hard numbers from Mass. If you get a license in Massachusetts, it's going to cost you $50. That's a tax, folks. Fees are taxes. Gas, the state charges you 24 cents per gallon on an average. Americans use about 500 gallons of gas. So that's going to be about $120. Some Americans use, especially that I know, use a lot more than that. Federally, it's going to be about 18.5 cents or thereabouts, or about another $100 a year that you'll pay. Total will be about $225, I guess, a year on gas, again, on a very broad average. Property tax bills in Massachusetts, average when I Googled it from 3 different sources, came from $35,000 to $4,000 a year on average. We pay a lot less of an average, I think, here in this town, but we're talking about, you know, that average payment. When I really did the math, I came down to $37.94 was where I Googled and found that to be in the middle after about my 4th Google search. Sales tax in Massachusetts is 6.25%. You got to figure out what you spend on taxable things to figure that out. You got to average that in somewhere, though. I'm going to go conservative. I'd say about probably $5,000 a year, aside from big purchases. Would cost you about another $300 to $400, depending upon what you pay. So now we're at about, I don't know, just over $20,000, $20,200, $300 that you're paying in taxes on your salary of $59,000. If you own a gun, well, it's going to cost you about $100 for the permit. Do you like to fish? That'll cost you $30 for the privilege of doing that. Excise tax will cost you $25 per thousand in this state. So if you got a car worth $15,000, you're talking about another $300, $400, $375. You'll pay almost 1% on your cable bill. With an average bill in Mass of over $100, that's another $12 a year. You got to count every dollar. You got a phone, check your bill. Feds are going to charge you 5.28%. States can charge you as much as 11%. So for a total, you're looking at about 17% on your phone. Average phone bill is listing it nationally at $80. Add another $13.60 to your bill. Let's catch up. We're getting close to $21,000 now. All right. If you have an inheritance or pay capital gains tax, you're going to go way the heck up. But it's hard to figure out on an average person because not every average person pays those things. So let's not add that yet. But we can start to figure out what you are paying in hidden taxes. You smoke cigarettes, you're going to pay hidden taxes. You like to fly, you'll pay a tax. You own a dog, you'll be taxed. You don't have insurance, you'll be taxed. You pay taxes on your garbage. You pay taxes on gifts. You pay taxes on hotels. You pay taxes on tolls. You pay taxes on imports. Yes, you do, because they're in the money. It's in the money. It's in what you pay for it. You buy this phone out of China, there's a tax in there. The tariff tax is built into the cost. What do you think? They just give that to you for nothing? That's funny. You want a passport, you'll pay a fee. Sewer and water bills all have taxes. Sports events have special taxes. There's special taxes on the tires on your car. There's taxes on the water that you get out of your faucet. I could go on and on. I don't know how to put a number on those. I really don't, because they vary so much per person. What I do know is that the average person is making roughly $59,000 a year in the United States, and they're paying a you-know-what ton of taxes. Some you can see, some you can't. It's disgusting to me. If you make more, you'll pay more. We cannot quantify all of them, but you really are approaching somewhere between 40%, maybe 38 to 45%, depending of your income, to some government agency of some kind, be it locally, state, or federally. It's absolute insanity. Do it for all the income levels. Go sit down. Go sit down and figure out yours. People say the rich don't pay enough. They want that. In many cases, people making $75,000 to $125,000 can be paying close to half their money back to the government in some way, shape, or form. People say the rich don't pay enough. Do you know that in 2014, I found the top 1% of taxpayers accounted for more income taxes than the bottom 90% combined? It's insanity. The top 1% paid $543 billion that year, or 39.48%. It's outrageous. The top 10% pay over 70% of all income taxes that are paid. You're free? You think you're free? You think you live in a free country? You don't live in a free country. Your government's occupied, and it's about high time you did something about it. Folks, stay free. I'm Gary. I'll be back next week. We'll talk more freedom.
Because we are the brave. Yes, we are the brave. We'll fight you in